What if I told you Apple's next iPhone might not even look like an iPhone anymore? After years of sitting on the sidelines, Apple is finally about to enter one of the fastest growing and most competitive parts of the smartphone market. And if they get this right, it could completely reset the upgrade cycle for millions of users. According to news reports, Apple is targeting a September launch for its first ever foldable iPhone, right alongside the iPhone 18 Pro and iPhone 18 Pro Max. Now, this is interesting because just days ago, a report suggested there were delays, specifically issues during the engineering test phase, which is usually where products either move forward or get pushed back. So naturally, investors and Apple watchers started asking the same question: is this actually happening this year? Apple is still aiming to launch in September, even if supply is limited at the start, and that makes sense because this isn't just another iPhone refresh. This is Apple stepping into a category they've avoided for years. Foldable phones have already been out for a while. Companies like Samsung and several Chinese manufacturers have been pushing this form factor for years, but Apple hasn't moved, and when Apple waits this long, it's usually for a reason. They're not trying to be first, they're trying to be better. And based on the reports, Apple may have solved some of the biggest problems that have held foldables back. Things like screen durability, the visible crease when you unfold the device, and overall build quality, which, if true, are exactly the issues that have kept a lot of people from adopting these foldable phones. And this is where it gets interesting from an investor perspective, because if Apple can deliver a foldable phone that actually feels premium and reliable, that could unlock a completely new upgrade cycle. They're not just selling another iPhone anymore, they're selling a new form factor, something different enough that even people with newer phones might consider upgrading. Now, it's still early. The launch is about 6 months away, and timelines can change. And even if it does launch in September, initial supply might be tight, but the bigger takeaway is this: Apple is finally entering the foldable market. And if history tells us anything, it's that when they enter late, they're aiming to dominate, not participate. Over the past week alone, we've seen a massive wave of new information come out about this device. We're talking about early dummy models showing up and speculation that Apple might not call it the iPhone Fold at all. Some leaks are pointing toward the name iPhone Ultra, which actually fits with how Apple has been positioning its highest end products. And all of this tells you something important. This isn't just an idea anymore. This product is moving through Apple's development cycle, and it's getting closer to reality. And this is where the design starts to stand out. Based on the early models, this isn't just a small tweak to the current iPhone. This is a completely different form factor. We're looking at a book-style foldable, something that opens horizontally, more like a passport than a traditional phone. On the back, you've got a dual camera setup, but it's more compact, not stretched across the entire device like we've seen with some competitors. And even small details, like the placement of the volume buttons on the top, show that Apple is rethinking how this device is actually used. And from a build perspective, there are changes here too. This doesn't look like the traditional unibody design Apple has used for years. Instead, the back panel appears to be fully glass, more in line with some of their lighter devices. So overall, you can tell this isn't just refinement. Apple is experimenting, but in a very controlled way. Now, when you look at the display, this is really where the product starts to make sense. When it's closed, you're getting something that feels like a normal phone, around 5.5 inches. But when you open it up, that expands to roughly 7.8 inches. And with a 4:3 aspect ratio, it starts to feel much closer to a tablet experience, something similar to an iPad mini. These dummy models suggest Apple is deep into the final stages of development. Trial production has already started, which is a major milestone, and as more people in the supply chain get access to the product, leaks tend to accelerate, which is exactly what we're seeing right now. For Apple, this is a pretty big moment, not because it's another iteration of the iPhone, but because it's something fundamentally different, a new form factor, a new use case, and potentially a new upgrade cycle. And if Apple executes on this the way they typically do, this could be the product that finally brings foldables into the mainstream. If you found value in this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future updates. And I'm curious, would you actually buy a foldable iPhone, or are you sticking with the traditional design? Let me know in the comments.